Welcome to After the Paycheck, the video series dedicated to helping people to and through their retirement process. Today I am here with John Conley, partner and investment advisor representative. What does that mean?
It means I'm licensed to give advice on investments and so forth. And also what it really means is that I'm a fiduciary, which means that I have to act on my client's best interest, which, goes without saying in this day and age. But there are individuals who are not a fiduciary, so to say.
Gotcha. So like from a legal point of view, like, hey, you are a fiduciary and you do what's in the client's best interest.
That is correct.
Right. And partner here at Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners. I think I already mentioned that. Sidetracked. A little bit something new every day. I also introduce this as the video series, but if you're watching the video right now, you'll notice that we're in a little bit of a different room, the situation that we've kind of started to build here at Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners. And we're also moving into the podcast world. One of the biggest, I don't want to say complaints, but biggest pieces of feedback that we were getting after the paycheck was that I'd love to be able to listen to you in my car or wherever I'm going, and I can't watch the videos at all times. So we're kind of taking that into consideration, and we'll be able to find After the Paycheck anywhere where you can get podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, most people want to educate themselves on, at their leisure when it's convenient for them, so to say. So I'm a big podcaster, I guess. I listen to a lot of podcasts in the car with the kids. They hate it, but but I do listen to podcasts.
We want to be where the people are, right?
Exactly.
Don't force them to come to you. We want to be where you are. So now you can either find us at afterthepaycheck.com or wherever you get your podcasts. So let's move on to the actual topic at hand for this week's or this episode's situation, which is talking about probability of success. And it's a term that financial advisors use when they're sitting down with somebody and going over their portfolio. But the idea to discuss this topic came from a concern that somebody had where they said, I have 4 or 5 different retirement accounts. How do I know which one I should be taking from and how much I should be taking from at a time? So before we get into like a little bit of the who should know more about this, can you define like a little bit more of the what did I just say? It's
probability of success. Yeah. So when we sit down with someone, we go through their portfolio and we're looking at what they have. We want to show them what their probability of success might look like down the road once they stop working and throughout their working years up until their life expectancy, so to say. So what we want to do is paint the picture. Okay. If couple A and B was on this path, this is what they're saving, this is when they want to retire, this is what they have saved, this is what they're projecting their income to be when they retire, if they're fortunate enough to have Social Security or a pension, their retirement income coming from their investments. Then we take a look at what taxes, what inflation, and what their current portfolio might project to earn throughout these years. And we showed them that if they didn't change anything and they stayed on this course of action, what is the probability of success? I'll give you an example. Like it might come back as 89% probability that you will not run out of money.
Okay.
So that would tell someone that they're on a healthy course. 89%. I'm not too sure if I would get on a plane today if I only had an 89% chance of getting to my destination. Yeah. So what that really means is we can make some small tweaks to their portfolio to maybe get them to a much higher probability of success. Okay. And I think that kind of tied into what you were talking about, the individual with multiple accounts, where do I take money from and so forth.
Right.
So if we don't take money from the right accounts or if we don't put some thought into it, and we take it from the wrong type of accounts or at the wrong time, that could have a negative effect on the probability of success because we're paying too much in taxes.
Okay. So you just discussed like one type of person that's going to be interested in following the rest of this episode is people that have multiple accounts and aren't sure really where to start their withdrawal from, or that how to figure out a strategy from where to withdraw from, which is really what this is about. It's really about the strategy, not picking and choosing which actual accounts in this episode, but discovering that strategy.
Yeah, I call it the extraction. You go through your whole working year saving for retirement, and you're contributing to your 401k, your 403bs, your retirement accounts. And all of a sudden you stop working, you now have to make a distribution from that, which is a completely different mindset, and there's tax ramifications involved.
So let's go into an example of that. Let's say I am someone who's been saving in multiple. Myself. It's 30 years from now. I have some old prior 401ks from old employees. from old jobs. I have my current 401k. I have a small Roth, and I have a savings account. I think I've done, like you said, a great job saving because my mindset my entire life is put money away, squirrel it away, squirrel it away. I get that last paycheck from my employer, and now I need to turn around and say, I got to start taking money from one of these accounts. Number one, how do I actually start to do that? And number two, how do I know which is the best method of doing that? Which is the best account to start withdrawing from?
Well, you want to get an assessment of everything you have, and understand what's the tax ramification for each account that you have when you take withdrawals from it. So in this example, someone who has multiple accounts, they might have an IRA.
Yep.
If we make a withdrawal from our IRA, we pay ordinary income taxes.
That's because it's a tax-deferred account, right?
That is correct. That's because you put money into this account. You haven't paid taxes on that money while it was growing or when it went in. So Uncle Sam was kind enough to let you defer the tax. It's not tax-free. It's tax deferral. It's kind of like the Mass Pike. Mass State Highway doesn't say you pay the toll when you get on. You pay the toll when you get off, which is very similar to the IRA.
Okay.
But then there's a Roth IRA, and Roth IRAs are after-tax dollars that you contributed, and then they grow tax-free, and any withdrawals tax-free as long as you held the account for 5 years.
Okay.
And then we'll just throw in the non-IRA, a brokerage account or an individual or a joint account. That's after-tax money, and that money's growing. And anytime we make withdrawals, we would have to pay taxes on the gains that we made, which is capital gains tax.
Okay.
So there's multiple different type of taxes that may be your account you would have to pay on any type of withdrawal. So you just want to make sure you understand what the net effect is on that and what taxes are due on those withdrawals.
Okay. So it's not as easy as me as just saying, hey, I need $10,000 a month and just picking $3,000 from each account, because that could really screw up my tax situation at the end of the year. And then in reality, I would have to then start taking out more money from each of these accounts, right?
Correct. So if you go into it haphazardly and you just say, I need $4,000 a month from my portfolio, I'm just going to withdraw $4,000 across the board, so to say. That's not the most tax-efficient manner of doing it. You want to look at the effect of each account and pick and choose which one. Because if we take it from the IRA and we're paying ordinary income, we might be paying more taxes than we should, which means we have to dig deeper into that portfolio to net that dollar that we're looking for. So you might want to look at the Roth or the pay capital gains tax, which could be potentially less than what the ordinary income tax is.
Okay.
So you just don't want to arbitrarily just go across the board and make a withdrawal. You want to have a distribution plan or an extraction plan, as I call it.
So getting into like the paying of taxes, and we kind of already started to touch upon this about not the dangers, but like the things you have to be aware of when you're extracting this money and understanding that, you might be paying more taxes here and there, because if I'm thinking I have $1 million between these accounts and I need, $10,000, so $120,000 a year, in reality, through taxes, I have to take out more than $120,000 a year.
Yeah. If you had $1 million and you needed $120,000 net, that's a 12% net return that you need to earn to get that $120,000. So what we would like to see, if you had $1 million, let's just use maybe a little bit more of a realistic example of, I need $60,000 from that $1 million to live my life.
Gotcha.
So we need $6,000 net, or $60,000 net, which is a 6% rate of return. Okay. But we have to pay taxes on that money.
Right.
So it's not so simple as saying, I'm just going to take 6% on my money. Right. We have to take more than that, because we have to pay Uncle Sam. I always say you have a silent partner in your 401ks, your IRAs, or an extra beneficiary, and that beneficiary is Uncle Sam. So he wants his income taxes. So you have to be cognizant of where the money's coming from and what the effect of those taxes are down the road. Because it makes your money have to work harder for you.
Are there times where, again, if I have various accounts where one might be performing way better? Because, again, they're not just like I'm starting to withdraw from them, so therefore they don't make any interest anymore. Like, all these accounts are still in, hopefully, portfolios that are giving me some sort of rate of return.
Correct.
If I notice one's doing like 12%, one's doing 4%, should I consider, withdrawing more heavily more from one than the other? Or is there a situation where I might want to not touch either of them?
If all things were equal and taxes were equal, then you would want to take the money from the one that's earning the least amount of interest. Gotcha. So in that example, if I get something that's earning 12% and it's tax-free, and I have another account that's earning 4% and that's tax-free, and I need money, I'm going to take it from the thing that's earning 4% versus the 12%.
Okay. And that's, again, assuming that they're in the same type of account.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So is there a situation where, again, we're talking about all these different accounts. Would it be easier to consolidate them all into just one thing, into just one type of account? Or is that maybe sometimes a no-no because, like we were just saying, you might have one portfolio doing 12% and one doing 4%, but in the following years it might switch?
There's the real answer, and then there's the reality, so to say. So could you take all your IRA money, cash it in, and put it into the individual non-IRA account? You can. You'd have to pay all the taxes to make that happen.
Okay.
Could you take your IRA money and turn it into a Roth IRA, which is tax-free?
Okay.
You could, but you'd want to have a strategy. You want to go through the process of that Roth conversion of every year I'm going to take some money out of this IRA. I'm going to convert it to a Roth IRA, pay the taxes today, so that Roth IRA is growing tax-free for down the road.
Okay.
We do that when we feel like we have enough IRA money. We think we're going to be in a higher tax bracket down the road, or we think taxes are going to go up, which I feel they are. So you want to maybe have a tax strategy of, hey, let's take some of this IRA money, pay the taxes today at my rate versus down the road, which might be higher, convert it into something that's tax-free. You can do that, but you got to have a strategy.
Okay.
You just can't take your IRA money and put it into your non-IRA. You can, but you'd have to pay all the taxes. And I'd make sure that anyone who, before they make any of those type of decisions, they sit down and they talk with an accountant or a financial advisor to determine what's the tax ramification of such an action.
Gotcha. Now, going back to the scenario of, hey, I've been saving in all these various accounts for years. I'm 65. I'm starting to withdraw from certain accounts, and I'm waiting because I'm going to turn on my Social Security in a few years and get my full benefits.
Sure.
Does that now then affect my tax situation? Like, is that income that gets counted towards my actual income?
Yeah. So when, taking Social Security is a big question mark that we get from people is when is the right time to take it? When should I take it? And, how much of my Social Security is taxed? Okay. We get that all the time.
Yeah.
And, Social Security is a tricky thing. So what happens is to determine how much of your Social Security is going to be taxed, what we do is we have to figure out what your provisional income is.
Okay.
And provisional income is your ordinary income, your tax-free income, and half of your Social Security. So when we calculate that, we want to make sure that we understand what that provisional income number is. So let's use anything above $44,000. That means 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed.
Okay.
So I think it's between $32,000 and $44,000 is taxed at 50%. And anything below $32,000 as a filing jointly, you don't pay any income taxes, or none of that Social Security is going to be taxed.
Okay.
So now we're throwing another like provisional income and taxes and Social Security. So we want to make sure before we turn on Social Security, what type of income we have, where the income is coming from, and how much of our Social Security will be taxed. Okay.
Yep.
Now that we know how much of the Social Security is going to be taxed, we have to determine at what rate.
Okay.
And that is the marginal income tax. Marginal just tells us at what rate of that Social Security is going to be taxed at. It's not just your income bracket. It's a different rate.
Okay. It's if I'm starting to withdraw from certain accounts, like I said, leading up to Social Security, can I then say, oh, now that I'm going to have this Social Security coming in, I can actually kind of stop taking withdrawals from these other accounts? Or is it once you turn on that faucet, you can't turn it off?
No, you can turn it on. You can turn it off.
Okay.
If you're, let's say you're making withdrawals from your account because you've been waiting for Social Security to kick in, now all of a sudden you don't need as much money from your portfolio or from your savings. You can turn off that spigot, so to say,
Yep.
and turn on the Social Security income. We would make sure that we want to, before we turn anything on or off, is understand what type of income we're getting and how is that going to affect our taxation of the Social Security.
Right.
Because what we pay and how we pay determines on the type of income, how much of the income. So oftentimes someone says, I'm thinking about taking an extra $10,000 out of my IRA this year. I just want to kind of put it in the bank. And we say, well, let's think about that. What is that? What effect is that going to have on your taxation of your Social Security moving forward? So we just want to be smart about it, not do anything haphazardly, but make sure that we think things through and understand the net effect of everything.
With Social Security, isn't that like a faucet? Once you turn that on, you can't turn that off, right?
That is correct.
So Social Security is probably the one that once you start
we turn it on, we want to turn it on. We want to make sure that we went through the process of understanding when we're going to turn Social Security on.
So because of technology being the way that it is, it turns out that the recording kind of stopped in the middle of what we were going on. But we had just recapped, or we had just discussed about adding Social Security into that mix between trying to figure out your best plan for retirement withdrawals, and about turning faucets on and on at certain times. But so now let's say that I'm someone who wants to do this myself. What would be something what would be the first thing that you recommend that I do?
I would arm myself with as much information as possible. It's not easy, so you have to understand, and mistakes can be costly at this point in time. If you have large sums of money, let's say you have $1 million, a mistake can become costly. So you want to make sure that to give yourself the best probability of success, you want to arm yourself with information. Make sure you talk to your accountant. Seek guidance from other financial advisors or people that you trust and that you work with. And then I would take courses. I would try to take some of these continuing education courses or go to a seminar that's being hosted by a financial firm. Then maybe you can learn and educate yourself on some of these topics that you can help yourself with.
Okay. So to recap everything kind of all together, coming down to it, it's understanding. Again, if I have multiple accounts, retirement accounts, or different types of accounts, understanding what the tax implications are for each account. Correct. Understanding that withdrawing from each account is going to affect my provisional income.
Provisional income, which is how much you pay, how much of your Social Security will be taxed, if any.
Okay, so that was so then going on to Social Security, when I'm ready to turn that on, understanding that also may be taxed. So that also may affect how much I need to withdraw from those other accounts.
That's correct.
And then I need to also monitor what the growth is for each of these types of accounts. If one's outperforming another, I need to just be aware of that.
Correct. When you start to make withdrawals, you want to make sure you understand where we should be taking the withdrawals from. Is it the accounts that are earning more versus the ones who aren't doing as well? Tax ramification of each account. Okay.
This is overwhelming now. So if I guess the next question is, so a financial advisor, where do you come into play here? If I'm getting overwhelmed with all this, I'm like, I can't do it myself now.
Sure.
Is there a point where it's either too early or too late to sit down with somebody to talk about this type of stuff?
No, I would never say it's too early or too late to sit down and seek guidance. But I would recommend someone sit down with a financial advisor, go through the free consultation that they offer, and have someone walk you through the process of where you are today, where are you on the right path, what changes do we need to make to get you on the right path. And, it's like anything in life, like early detection is best. So if you're 5 to 10 years out from retirement and there's changes that we need to make to your situation, that gives us more time to make those changes, which will have much more of an impact for you in the long term. If we wait till the last minute and we're ready to walk out the door from our employer and we're not on the right path, we have less time to make those changes to fix it. So you might now have to maybe take on more risk or what have you to kind of make up for lost time. Gotcha. So I think anywhere between 5 to 10 years out from retirement or within those years in retirement, we can help you out.
That's probably that would be my biggest hesitation if I'm about 5 to 10 years out and I meet with a financial advisor and they say like, hey, dude, you only have like a 53% chance of success in retirement because of the way that you're doing things. Is there ever a point where you're just like, we can't help you, man? Or like,
No, I mean,
hey, what were you thinking?
What
Like, am I going to be shunned? Like,
no, I mean, we don't look at people, we don't judge people. What we want to do is help people.
Okay.
And if you had a 53% probability of success, we would then map out what you need to do to change that number to a higher success rate. And the more time we have to fix it, the better off we are. We understand when people walk into our office that they're nervous, that they're coming in, they basically open up their books and say, this is what we've done for the last 50, 60 years of saving money for our lifetime. Did we do a good job? We're not here to judge you if you did a good job or not. We're trying to tell you, are you on the right path? What tweaks do we need to make your portfolio more efficient?
Okay.
And sometimes there's big changes, sometimes there's small changes. Sometimes the situation is just you're not maybe the ideal person for us because you're just not there yet. And what we can help you with is not what your problem is. So we'll guide you and steer you to the people who can help you.
I think that's a great way to kind of wrap this up about how if your concern is, this, that, or the other thing, and it's sitting down with a professional and creating that blueprint or that map, or just understanding like, hey, here's a written retirement plan that's going to actually help, if you're not at a good probability of success, help you get to that level.
I think anyone who's unsure of what they have, how it works, and where they stand would benefit from sitting down with us for a consultation.
Perfect. And at that, I think we will wrap things up. Again, John, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Always my pleasure. I appreciate being here.
That was a lot for me to learn today. If you have any questions, or if you have a topic that you'd like either Sam, John, or Ryan to discuss on a future episode of After the Paycheck, head over to that website, www.afterthepaycheck.com, and submit a form at the bottom of that page. Until next time, take care.